Hi, I'm Justin Crosby and welcome to another episode of TellyCast. This week, we've got one of the OGs from the digital first scene in the UK, Thom Gulseven from Strongwatch Studio. Hey, Tom.
I've not been described as an OG before, thanks.
Well, I mean, you are though. I mean, going back through Channel 4, LADbible, you've really sort of been one of the execs at the forefront of the digital first scene, and now you have your own business, Strongwatch, which is 2 years old, right?
Yeah, 2 years old in September. The last time I think I was on the pod, I was at LAD, and I just joined LAD, so
that's
a
right.
couple of years ago, and we were chatting about the plans there. So it's nice to come and give an update.
Absolutely. Well, let's start with that. So Strongwatch Studios, as I said, I think it was 2 years ago in September that you launched it.
Yeah.
With Ben Powell-Jones, your partner. You're working with Hat-Trick as well in terms of, So
we're part of the Hat-Trick family, Hat-Trick and Jimmy invested in us early days as part of their overall suite of businesses. So Strongwatch came about, I guess, from finding ourselves in the really privileged position of having that mixed experience. Ben and I, as you mentioned, I was at Channel 4, Ben was at Endemol as a format exec, so we both have that sort of history in broadcast. Me, like on the TV and digital side of things, Ben did a bit of TV and digital Endemol. And then we both got the call up to LADbible to go work there a bit before me. Ben was really looking after all of the original output for LADbible. I was across business strategy and what the reasons why we were doing lots of that content and some of the branded content too. And Strongwatch came about, I guess, from Ben and I talking about that mixed experience and being really fortunate to be in a place and time where we'd been in TV and we knew what was happening there. We'd been in digital and we'd known that was a growth area. We'd been talking to lots of people about whether something similar could exist, something similar to what we were doing at LADbible could exist for them as other digital publishers or broadcasters. And it occurred to us that might be our moment to say, well, we could do it for lots of people and set up a business that does it in various and different ways, which is, as you say, 2 years old and still going. So,
So, which is an age in digital first, actually, if you think about it in many ways.
Yeah.
We'll talk about Strongwatch in a bit more detail in a sec, but going from Channel 4 to LADbible, so going from a broadcaster to a publisher, that must have been a bit of a massive change, right? For a TV exec going into a publisher and one of the world's biggest digital publishers. Yeah. So what did you learn at LADbible that you then took forward and applied to Strongwatch Studios?
Well, thinking about like the biggest change, the biggest gear shift for me was a commercial one. And, Channel 4 is, I love Channel 4. I worked there for an awfully long time. And I think lots of people who work in our industry similarly love Channel 4, right? So unique as a PSB that has its remit and we all love it for various reasons. And that's why I stayed there for so long. I loved all the content we made there. But moving from there to LADbible, I realised how important that ROI was on everything we were making when you don't have a remit to also work into, and actually what you're doing is kind of very, very commercially driven, making those budgets really work and maximising how we can make revenue out of every frame we filmed was something that was like a steep learning curve, should we say, having come out of a PSB, but one that then Ben and I apply to everything we're doing now, and actually try and find that mix. We work with the PSBs, we work with Channel 4 an awful lot as Strongwatch, so trying to find that mix of something that is kind of fulfills a remit, but obviously has a good return on investment and can make a bit of money as well. So that's merging those worlds is a big part of coming out of Channel 4 and going into LAD.
Yeah, and of course you both worked on some of LADbible's biggest brands out there, like Minutes With and a number of others that really so successful. And that must have been a huge amount of learnings about how digital brands and channels and shows or many people call them channel brands or show brands now as well. That must have been a really different way of thinking.
It was for like so many reasons. I probably couldn't list them now. Firstly, like lots of those brands, big shout out to Ben. Ben was there before me and set those brands up, and that's really his kind of his babies, like starting those brands. I guess one of the things that we really learned that we've taken through to lots of the projects we do, not least our own YouTube channels we run and ones we're doing for broadcasters, is like, you know, when we were working in TV, I think you have a real tendency and a correct tendency to come up with the idea and then hold on to that idea and sort of see it through as that idea, you know, like regardless of what the audience is telling you, regardless of what other feedback you get, that's the idea, you make that idea, it goes out. The biggest learning for me and what we did at LADbible was if episode 100 is the same as episode 1, you've done something wrong, because you should be learning on the way and you should be changing it constantly. And I always think back to a show that Ben and his team made, Agree to Disagree. The first iteration of that show was like a sort of debate format, a kind of social issues debate format where people were debating. I think they even did like a Brexit or anti-Brexit, a Remain episode. And over time, they changed that to a sport format where, you know, you could have a Man United fan and a Man City fan, and then changed it into a kind of like Hollywood junket format where you could have The Rock debating Kevin Hart. And watching that brand go through all of its many and various iterations was something you look at and go, God, if that was a TV format, that would have been locked into that first version that got pitched and commissioned, and you probably wouldn't have been able to take it on that journey. And that's the thing that, yeah, we think about a lot. How are there big fundamental changes we can make to the stuff that we're producing that kind of follows our nose to where the audience wants it to go, basically?
That's really interesting because, as you say, it's about test and learning and evolving an initial kernel of an idea.
Yeah.
But equally, one of the sort of key tenets of YouTube in particular is turning up at the same time every week with a format that people know and expecting and trust.
Yeah.
So for a format like that, or for any format that you're working on, how far can you stretch that before, you know, the audience says, nah, this is not what I'm turning up for?
Well, I think the beautiful thing is the audience will tell you. So how far you pushed it, right? And so in that instance, and thinking about what we're doing at the moment, we have our own YouTube channel, People Are Deep. It's our factual channel, award-winning People Are Deep.
Best new channel at Digital Video Awards.
Yeah. There, we really tried to push the edges in casting. You know, we started our suite of, it's an interview format. It's a factual interview format, sitting down for like an hour with a really, really interesting person, right? And just giving that person the space to tell their story.
Yeah.
Really simple, really effective. We started there with a lot of the casting that we knew very well from LAD. You know, crime, people with interesting jobs, that kind of territory. We tried the edges, though, of where an audience might go to with us. And so we tried people that were kind of ex-reality stars that had a story to tell, other people in media. We tried other angles at crime, like crime scene cleaners, that kind of thing. Tried to push the casting a little bit. We tried a wedding organizer, a wedding planner. That was fun. Not what we would have done in the past, but we really wanted to see where the edges were. Some of those really took off, particularly like stories in the media. We had Jet from Gladiators in. People really wanted to hear her story. We had ex-Corrie stars in, ex-Britain's Got Talent stars in. People really wanted to hear those stories, which was a surprise to us in testing and learning. And the audience told us they wanted more. Though we tried other things. Sadly, the wedding planner that we had in, that I had great hopes for, no one wanted to hear that story. Right. So we knew not to push further down that road. But I'd say, you know, obviously all of the testing and learning we do are controlled and we have a plan for them and we know what we're testing, but the audience pretty quickly tells you if they want more of it or they don't, you know, and, you know.
So for example, with the wedding planner story, which is...
He was brilliant. He was brilliant. Right. It's not his fault that episode didn't do well, but yes, him.
So when you saw that didn't take off in the way that you'd hoped, in the same way that perhaps previous episodes hadn't, what do you do? Do you change title, change thumbnail, go through that process of actually changing how it appears on, on YouTube to people to begin with?
Yeah.
Do you then take it and re-edit it in a different way? Do you try all of those things?
So we will throw everything at it. So, thumbnail changes, and we're always iteratively and constantly changing our thumbnails anyway, based on what we're seeing working elsewhere. Now one can multivariant test thumbnails on YouTube, using that functionality an awful lot, even down to like what colors we're using in them and all the stuff that people are testing. So we'll try all that, but the reality is, like, there's no good for our subscriber base, if they're not into it straight away, no amount of tweaking is necessarily going to get them into it even more. And what we're really building is a community of people that love the stories that we're telling, right? Yeah. So even if we find a totally new audience, that might not be the community we're building. So we will try everything to make those episodes work. We try a lot of interesting stuff in short form. So we'll re-edit things and try telling the stories in a different way for 9/16 platforms, on Reels and TikTok. But fundamentally, what we're trying to learn, particularly in a channel like that, that's still kind of in its relative infancy, we're about to hit 100,000 subscribers, I think we will do by the end of the year, I hope. But what we're trying to learn with a new channel like that is who the audience is, really. And, then we can start to build on top of that community as we go on.
Well, that's interesting because say you get a sort of an outlier hit or a breakout hit from on your channel, which is perhaps not what you were expecting. There must be a real temptation to say, okay, this is working, we're going to do more like this. Yeah. But then that might have attracted other viewers from elsewhere other than your channel subscribers or people that come into your channel. So there must be a temptation to say, okay, let's do more like this, but actually that might take you away from the original reason for doing the channel and the original core audience. And so how do you balance that sort of
and it's a balance basically. So when we were casting episodes, we have brilliant producer Mariana Brown working on the channel. It was part of her job to sort of balance that casting to make sure we had enough for the core fans, and then we were sort of testing a few hunches in there as well, and making sure that we weren't straying too far away, and then maybe a few complete outliers, wedding planners, to go in there to really test the edges of where we could put new content or where we could move into subject-wise. Yeah. But it's controlled testing. I think the most important thing, and one of the things that we really learned from LAD, is that, when you say you're testing things, you really need to know why and have a bit of rigor around that test, because it's very easy to retrospectively justify or kind of do away with the results of a test if you haven't sort of been upfront about what your hypothesis is first.
Because you can tell yourself different things, I guess. With that much data, you can convince yourself.
We've all done it. We've all written a deck where you're sort of writing your own reason for why a set of numbers means exactly what you want it to mean. Yes. But ultimately, who's that really helping? It's particularly when you're running your own channel. So that's what we try to be controlled about the tests we do. We try to replicate things. We sort of put it through its paces in a bit of rigor. And it's working. Like I say, that channel's going to hit 100,000 subs in a very short amount of time. Thank you very much. Just gone on Pluto as well, which is quite exciting. Right. I was having a look last night on my TV at our actual work on Pluto, which is dead exciting opportunity, and hopefully, we can find ourselves on more fast channels soon too.
Well, let's. I've kind of gone off on one slightly about getting into the detail of thumbnails.
Great. Let's talk about thumbnails.
But let's bring it back to Strongwatch then. Yeah. In terms of those 2 years, we obviously report a lot of your news on the Drop.
Thank you very much.
Pretty regularly, and you're in the new Drop magazine. By the way, another plug for that. But yeah, what's the latest developments at the company?
Latest developments. I mean, we are, thankfully, touch wood, busy. So lots of people think of us as a digital production company. Like I was saying earlier, because of our sort of mixed experience, we think of ourselves as a digital production company that understands telly. So we do lots with broadcasters because we understand that world. So right now, and streamers, and sort of as they're moving into the kind of, I suppose, creator-led world, working with streamers as well, lots of branded content. So right now we're working on a big streamer creator series. Really, really exciting, sort of really shows, can't talk an awful lot about it, but it shows a direction of travel of where the big streamer platforms are as they can, find those elusive younger audiences who want to set up their first account with them. That's a really exciting project for us. We run a big, the digital content for a big charity football match out in Doha. That's happening again for us this year. So we're gearing up for that in January. Nice bit of winter sun will be nice to get out there after Christmas.
Well, there might be a report from the ground there for TellyCast. You never know. It sounds quite attractive.
We'll try and find some time to chat about what's happening. Yeah. So stuff like that. Lots of branded content. We just wrapped on a project for Beavertown, the brewery.
Right.
So, mixing that kind of brands as broadcasters, brands as commissioners, that, well, we've heard an awful lot of recently, working directly with them, stuff through agencies. But like we were chatting about it just before we started. We're currently, the long running project for us is the one that we're doing with Channel 4, the comedy channel called, confusingly, A Comedy Thing. Yeah. So that's kind of become part of the backbone of our production slate, really, and what we're doing year round.
And that's a really significant step for you, I think, in terms of presumably the scope of that, and just take us inside the amount of content that you're creating and what building and running that channel means in terms of day to day.
So we run the channel for Channel 4 from a production perspective. So we make a new episode of long form, let's call it long form, 15 to 20, 25 minutes, YouTube content for every single week, every Sunday. With that comes like a whole bag of social edits as well. So we're really kind of going out there with a flood and volume of social cuts of those formats. We run the channel. So we have a channel manager in-house at Strongwatch that runs the channel on behalf of Channel 4, which is a real significant thing for us and I think for them.
It must be. So, it must be, because they've got enough channel managers in their own business, right?
They absolutely do. And they're so supportive. They are so, all the guys over at 4 Studio are super supportive and help us, navigate all the kind of all the tricky parts we need to do in working with a PSP and making sure we're getting everything right. But I think there's a real strength, and I hope Channel 4 see as well, a real strength in having a channel manager sitting inside production, basically, and working that way. So and working really closely with, and this is the real joy of it, really closely with a set of the best comedians in the UK at the moment to build that channel and make it happen. The comedians themselves are, as much part of that channel growth as we are, as Channel 4 are. So, for our to be the production company, it's also managing the channel, that's managing that relationship, really brings all that together to make sure we're all getting the most out of it, I guess.
Yeah, fantastic. So just picking up on something you mentioned earlier on about streamers, and it was sort of broaden it out a little bit in terms of, certainly you're establishing Strongwatch Studios has also coincided with this, huge move forward in some of the more traditional media companies moving into the digital first space and the creator space. And that seems to have really accelerated in the last 12 months or so.
Yes.
So obviously, very smart move for you to do that and to see that developing. But how do you see things moving forward in the next 12 months? Because it seems to me it's really supercharged over the last 12 months. I mean, is that what you're seeing as well?
I think so. I think it's fair to say that everyone, not just the streamers, I mean, everyone's eyes are turning towards the power of creators in what they're doing and moving audiences onto their platforms. I think it's going to be a really interesting 12 months in how people do that, because I think there's, it's not new that people have worked with really brilliant bits of talent that have appear on digital platforms. But I think, people are still kind of finding their feet as to how it works best. What I've seen an awful lot of, I guess, in the last couple of years is people really, for want of a better description, borrowing people's audiences rather than, really building community and long-standing relationships with fans of a creator, which is fine if you're a brand and you're running a campaign and you want, I'm only using them because it's the first name that came to mind, you want Chunks in your campaign, you want Chunks' audience, great, put Chunks in your video. But be aware that, after that video, that audience then might disappear again. So I think in the next year, what we're going to start seeing is brands, broadcasters, streamers building a bit more of a, I guess, long-term, long-standing community relationship with those creators, and then building some stuff on top of that community.
When you say that, what do you mean? Like retaining, basically negotiating retainer deals with creators for in the same way that broadcasters have, and
potentially. I think how that plays out could sort of be different for who that client and who that brand or broadcaster or streamer is. But ultimately, one of the things I've been thinking an awful lot about is, think from an audience perspective, why does that audience like that creator? They like them because they're part of a community that creator has built, right? You only need to go on, to use like the biggest example is if you go on Sidemen's channel and look at the comments on the Sidemen Sunday, all the comments are kind of in-jokes about past videos, you know, about, I don't know, JJ's music or the kind of comments about Ethan rage quitting or stuff like that, stuff like from old videos that come up again and again as almost catchphrases that audiences use and communities use because it shows they're part of that wider group.
Yeah,
that's why people love creators, because they're kind of buying into a big group that makes them feel part of a whole, you know.
Yeah.
So thinking about how you know, brands might use that or streamers might use that, they need to start creating their own new communities around those creators, I think, and really building like a good foundation of what it means to come to you to watch, you know, those creators in different contexts.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're sort of borrowing all those in-jokes, borrowing all that.
You're borrowing their audience, right, aren't you? And maybe even just fleetingly.
Yeah.
So you might get an initial sort of uptick in the videos that, you know, popular creators feature in, but, you know, but they're not going to necessarily stick around, right?
Yeah. And we've seen it recently with a comedy thing that we're making. We've seen that, you know, at the start of our journey with that channel, loads of the comments we got were, I guess, for want of a better description, in jokes or lore, like Lore. Lore is the word I keep on using. It's going to be my word of 2026, and I'm sure that all my team are already fed up of it. But the comments and the lore that were sort of we saw under each video was inherited from all of the comedians who work with podcasts. You know, like it's comments that pertain to things that had happened on episodes of their show, you know, months and months ago, because there wasn't any built-in community and lore of our own. Mm-hmm. Increasingly, we're starting to see some of those comments turn up referencing old videos from a comedy thing, which is like really gratifying because all of a sudden we've got a community there that are coming for our content and the history and the legacy that we're building. And I think, you know, that's only happened because we're still really early in that journey with Channel 4. I think we're like, you know, 16 videos in, 17 videos in, which is not much in the greater scheme of things. So, you know, 16, 17 videos, we're starting to see that kind of community build. Will there be brands? Will there be broadcasters? Will there be streamers that really invest in the same way of like building that relationship? So they're building their own in-jokes, they're building their own legacy, they're building their own kind of catchphrases, which are related to them, not the stuff those creators done in other places, you know?
Yeah. So tell us about where the channel came from then. Take us back into, you know, what the purpose of the channel and the sort of genesis of the idea.
Yeah, well, it's sort of gratifyingly and full circle wise, one of the first things we pitched actually as Strongwatch, like back in 2023, I think. So we were noticing, Ben and I were noticing, well, two things. One, not rocket science, less and less comedy-ents was being commissioned for TV and streamers and everyone, really. But secondly, the spirit of comedy-ents, and whether it's like clips from old comedy-ent shows or the kind of games that you might see on a comedy-ent channel, was sort of writ large on YouTube and short-form platforms. Not least on two channels in particular, Dropout TV that you might know, which is the kind of the rebranded Cottage Humour world, and an Australian channel called Yeah Mad, which is huge YouTube channel that built a lot of their followers and views on YouTube Shorts when YouTube Shorts was new and really rode that wave. Very different channels, very different types of comedy. Dropout is kind of very American improv, brilliant, like, but games that really lend themselves to improv. Yeah Mad is, you know, dad jokes, like kind of straight for the jugular, head to head telling gags, basically, which is why it does so brilliantly on short form. But we looked at them and we thought, God, there was like, at the same time, so many like incredible, like so good UK comics that weren't getting the opportunity to go on TV because those shows didn't exist. And you kind of think like, you know, in years gone by that point, they would have been on a big panel show and their career would have been doing, you know, that path that everyone knows very well. But instead, they were all brilliantly, you know, having their own podcasts or posting an awful lot of clips of their crowd work and, building their own social presence. And it just made us think, God, there's got to be something we can do with this brilliant generation and set of comics, and that mentality that those channels like Dropout and Yeah Mad were building. And I suppose, that's where the start of that pitch came from. It was very much a strategy with the start of an idea, but just saying you should really, in fact, that's where the working title, a comedy thing, came from. We went, first of all, to Carl Warner when he was still at Channel 4 and said, you guys should really be doing a comedy thing on YouTube. And then that name didn't change from that point to the launch of the channel. That's a massaging of the truth, but kind of something in that range. It sort of looked like that name at that point. I've got a deck somewhere that says a comedy thing on it, I think. And Carl really loved that strategy, and Carl really backed that strategy and took it to Sasha, who loved it too, brilliantly, who then took it to his commissioning editor, Charlie Hyland, who similarly loved it, which, was great. Everyone was sort of really behind this idea of building a new comedy brand. I guess we did a bit more work as Strong Watch into that idea. The thing that I guess us as Strong Watch, and particularly Charlie, who's got a great keen sense of how this stuff works in the digital space, we knew that what was really fundamentally important to channels like Dropout or Yeah Mad was the kind of chemistry between those comedians. They kind of, I pay. Dropout is SVOD service, right? It's a subscription service. They've got loads of their content on short form platforms, but really the majority of everything goes on behind a paywall. It's like $5.99 a month. I pay that to watch the content, but B, because really I like to, pay for the idea that I'm part of that friendship group. That's basically what you're getting out of that transaction. You're buying into a friendship group in the same way that, fans of Sidemen buy into being part of Sidemen by wearing their merch. That kind of felt like a similar thing. So from really early doors, we as Strong Watch, Charlie, Sasha, were really clear that what was going to be important with a channel like that was the mix of the comics on the channel and getting the right group of people. So we really worked hard together in building set of 7 initially, comedians who all work with each other an awful lot. We're all mates, all appearing on each other's podcast. And then we shot some pilots with Channel 4, and you could see it was just such a brilliant morning, that run through pilot day, of sitting down with all of the comedians you're working with, and immediately when the cameras switched on, I'm like, yes, this is the kind of chemistry and the relationship that's going to really people will see through the lens and want to be part of as well. So. Spent a long time with Charlie and Sasha building that set of comedians, and since the point it was green lit, we were just sort of straight out, that's the big thing with a channel like this. Once you start the conveyor belt's just moving, right? You stop making, you'll stop posting, and then you've lost that consistency you were talking about that YouTube loves so much. We do an awful lot of different kinds of formats on there, from the kind of YouTube staples of lineup games. We've got out and out joke formats where those comedians' kind of gag writing skills are really tested. But ultimately the joy is we can do something different every single episode, because it's what we're really building is that network of faces you come back for each time.
Yeah, and I guess other than all of that makes complete sense when it comes to as you say, the drop off of linear commissioning within comedy as well. But there must have been compelling data in terms of how comedy performs on YouTube that makes the business case for that, right? I mean, what is that? Presumably comedy is one of the biggest genres on YouTube as well. I mean, it's
on YouTube after music, I think the second biggest genre. On TikTok, the biggest, right? And obviously comedy is a really broad church, isn't it? It means lots of, the point of it is very, very subjective. It means lots of different things to different people. But I suppose the fact is people go to those platforms to be entertained. There was an awful lot of kind of business case building for us to Channel 4 in terms of why that was a really worthy investment, largely around the size of audience in comedy. similarly around the kind of brands that were attaching themselves to funny stuff, and that opportunity there to I guess for more branded content and sponsors. Similarly around live events, if you look at like the really brilliant rich suite of comedy podcasts in the UK at the moment, well, globally at the moment, but particularly in the UK, they're all touring and they're all doing really well out of touring. Think about things like Finn versus History, you know, Finn Taylor's podcast with Horatio Gould. They just, I think, sold out a run in the UK. Also saw this morning that he's selling Christmas crackers with gags that he's written in it. That is a brilliant merch extension of a brand like that. But opportunities like that are kind of the thing that you get when you start to build those communities, build that lore, build that that following. And that was a big part of the pitch for a comedy thing as well. Like, how do we build a brand that people will love enough to come and buy a ticket to a show or buy a Christmas cracker?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, it's really sort of plays back to the sort of one of the key tenets of digital first, really, is having your IP in the center of that, and then being able to spin off, you know, memberships, live events, podcasts, merchandise, and all of these opportunities. And that's the way that you're hoping to take the channel and take advantage of all those opportunities. So we might see a comedy thing live tour right around the UK.
Comedy thing live tour. We did a live night in Edinburgh this year as a kind of test run, early days. What would it look like? But could that be a live tour in the future? Who knows? Could we, lots of just like at LADbible when Ben and I were looking for opportunities, and the whole team there are looking for opportunities of turning formats into physical products. Could there be a card game that spins out of a comedy thing? Could there be all those things that we know the Roots people have gone down with, turning their IP into real world products? That's a really exciting thing to think about, particularly in partnership with someone like Channel 4, who have got their kind of future strategy that's going to have to pivot towards those different revenue streams. But hopefully working with someone like us allows them to do that quite nimbly rather than trying to pull together all the bits of the business to do it in different ways.
Interesting. So coming back to something you mentioned earlier on, obviously Sasha.
I very quickly, Justin, I would be remiss not to mention, you mentioned like launching podcasts off the back of a comedy thing. Literally this week, in 2 days, we're launching our first vodcast from the comedy thing brand called A News Thing, which is a co-commission with the News and Current Affairs department at Channel 4 between Charlie, Sasha and Digital Department, and Louisa Compton and her team in the news team, specifically to use comedy to find an audience that's not necessarily going to watching the news and getting the facts behind stories. So that's something we're launching this week. I'm really excited about it because what we do on the comedy thing is often silly. It's kind of games that allow those comedians to muck about and be funny with each other as friends. But this is a sort of different side of that as well, like being funny, but also be able to get some facts into people as news feeds as well. So look out for that. It's coming this week.
All right, well, we'll do. Well, who better to produce that as well as that you look after Have I Got News for You's YouTube?
We do look after
digital as well. So funnily enough,
funny takes on the news is not something that's alien to the building in which we currently sit.
Fantastic. Well, just picking up on something you mentioned earlier on, which is, there's lots of interesting moves around the digital first space at the moment, and big media, if you like. You mentioned Sasha. He's obviously going to Sony, which he's, the interesting things that Sasha and Matt Ford are going to be building over at Sony. We've seen, you mentioned News, ITN, they're looking to, senior creative director over there. Hearst are also moving into this space with Hearst Canvas. Obviously ITV Studios with Zoo 55. And we already know BBC Studios is investing heavily in this space. It's an exciting time, isn't it?
It's so exciting. It's so exciting. Stuff like the new Sony team, like that is a stellar team they're building over there between Sash, Matt, as you mentioned. Matt is brilliant. I've worked with Matt in the past. He's absolutely fantastic person for that role. We've got Danny Lorimer over there. Danny worked on a few shows with us at Strong Watch and back in the day at LADbible. Great kind of person to have in a kind of creative hot seat to be thinking about what a creative world looks like. So exciting what's happening there, and all of the people you've just listed, Justin. It feels like back when I was at Channel 4 and I was sort of, me and anyone else working at that digital scene, we're really banging the drum and saying, this is going to be an important part of the future. This is what everyone's going to be thinking about in the next 10 years. It feels like it's happening. And I talk to people like, Matt Campion, who I know you have on an awful lot, and Sam Barcroft and all those. They're the proper OGs, like that. Those, and Laura Marks over at Channel 4. People have been chatting to for ages about this thing, and it feels like a genuinely exciting moment when we all that stuff we've been talking about, it's actually happening. And all of the kind of big, I suppose, super indies and bigger kind of corporate media getting into that now, just sort of, I suppose, further legitimising all those thoughts and, I guess, opens up the playing field for everyone, doesn't it? The thing that I think is super important, I've noticed in kind of real sharp focus over the last couple of years, we've all known that like digital is super entrepreneurial, even in those corporate environments, where you can make money, how the platforms are working, what brands want to do, what kind of broadcasters strategies look like. They sort of change really regularly because the landscape changes really regularly. Ben and I built our business, part of our business model when we first pitched it on Snapchat. That revenue isn't there anymore. That Snapchat don't monetize in the same way anymore. So similarly with Meta platforms, we built a lot of revenue lines in our business plan on them. They're not there anymore. It changes an awful lot, and we've had to pivot in loads of different directions to have those variety of different revenue streams. What's going to be really interesting with those bigger corporations is how flexible and how entrepreneurial they can remain in a time where it feels like a ton of different opportunities come in loads of different directions. Can they allow all the people working for them to be really entrepreneurial, and can they remain entrepreneurial whilst having that huge structure as well?
Well, they need that. They need to give those departments and those teams the ability to fail and have that mentality of like failing fast and test and learn and almost like a challenger brand attitude to that. And I guess they're going to succeed or fail by almost. I mean, they've got the teams in place, and many of these companies, and certainly we talked about Sony, but the ability, as you say, to almost leave them to it. But that's going to be interesting because not a lot of big corporate media companies are used to that. Really.
Well, it's difficult, isn't it? Like you kind of everyone is looking for very, I suppose, quick wins. On a fair description, like everyone, digital, I think represents a kind of a bit of a life raft for lots of people, and you don't necessarily want a life raft to come in 5 years' time. You want it to come tomorrow.
Yeah, but it's a long-term life raft, isn't it? It's not. That's the thing, isn't it? It's digital. It's like you've got to pivot now to hopefully save. The life raft is, the ship's sinking, but it might not sink for 5 years, and that's maybe the analogy, right? Because changing direction right now, I mean, some companies, it might already be too late. Others, who are these forward-looking companies we were talking about, they're seizing the opportunity, but realizing hopefully that it's not a quick win. This isn't going to replace all of that linear advertising revenue that they had 5 years ago, right?
100%. I mean, and shout out to Charlie and to Sasha at 4 to recognising that in some of the stuff we're doing with the comedy thing. That is a real long play and something that I hope we pay back in the future. But like I say, those other companies getting into it, it's a sort of the flip side of that. The flip side of that need to remain agile and commit to it is that they have deep enough pockets to commit to it, and that's part of the challenge, isn't it? Like we talk a lot about our YouTube channel crossing the moat and sticking with a channel long enough that you've crossed over into untouchable. Basically, all your videos will do a certain amount of views if you stay consistent. All of your followers will be served the same amount of content because the algorithm knows it by that point, knows what you're doing, trusts you, knows you're consistent, and you've crossed that moat. That's, I suppose, the job of those bigger corporations now, to allow their new projects to cross the moat. And like I say, for the most part, they've got those really deep pockets to allow them to do it.
Yeah. I can imagine lots of chief financial officers kind of peeking through the glass windows in some offices going, when's the revenue coming? And
it's No, it's a eminently unforecastable world, isn't it? To go, oh, our YouTube channel's not doing well now, but in 5 years we'll have a live tour. So don't worry, in 5 years we're going to sell a Christmas cracker. Don't worry about it. It's not stuff that CFOs love to see on their balance sheet. No. But it will happen for loads of people, and I think Ben Doyle, Ben Doyle's brilliant, and always talks about thinking like a creator, right? Like to work in our environment, even if you're not a creator, you have to think like a creator. That's hard for us as a indie. Imagine how hard it is for a BBC Studios or a Sony or a Banijay to think like a creator. Like that's even more protracted. So that's going to be a really interesting thing to see how that gap gets bridged.
We're just a few days from the Digital Content Forum as well, Tom.
How you feeling?
Looking forward to seeing you there.
And you excited?
Really excited. And it's exciting to see already, this event growing over the years. We started this with, almost not quite a handful of people, but 4 years ago, it was, a number of people who we're all talking about actually now. Remember many of the companies you talk about, like Sam and Barcroft and After Party and lots of the other guys who were there that first year. Now it's grown 30% year on year, and so this year is going to be the biggest ever. And it's going to be really exciting. We're covering loads of new areas. We're covering a lot of investment. We've got an investment panel for the first year, so businesses invested in creators and supersizing their businesses. We talk about news. We've got a news panel as well as lots of other panels that we're focusing on. That's a real. It's a bit of a sense of the growth of the industry as well, of the sector.
It's amazing. Congratulations, Mark. It's
thank you.
We were there on the first one.
You were, yeah.
Panel with Mel and Jordan, I remember.
That's right.
Back then.
Yeah.
How much has changed just with being Mel and Jordan.
Isn't it?
Really good, but it's really incredible, and great resource for us all as well. Just so
fantastic. Well, look forward to seeing you there. So we're going to go on to a story of the week, Tom. So, which is there a news story that in the past 7 days or so in the digital first space that you've seen that you can highlight and say, actually, that was really interesting?
Not quite this week. A couple of weeks ago, but we saw Fox investing in Holywater, the vertical video brand, vertical micro dramas and AI-powered dramas. I think it's just really interesting direction for that kind of content. We've heard, I'm sure you at MIP heard loads about 916 micro dramas and the kind of the growth of them. I think it's really exciting. I think it's still finding its way, and I think like the use of AI and that and stuff is going to be really, really interesting. But with Fox investing, it sort of seems like that's going to grow an awful lot.
Yeah, well, they were talking about bringing some of their talent to what up to this point has been really something that's very popular in China in particular, but the sort of content is slightly Mills and Booney and a little bit sort of telenovela, which is great, and super popular is the most important thing. And there was also a recent Omdia survey, talking about the growth and the potential for microdrama, and it was, it's going to eclipse fast. It already has, I think, in terms of revenue potential. So Fox and these big Hollywood studios moving into vertical. It's kind of interesting, and a little bit circle back to when that launched about what was it? It was almost like 6-7 years ago. The original microdrama platform. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. Quibi, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I mean, what's really interesting about all that, and particularly the success in China, is the platforms on which those that content is built, which is really a kind of microtransaction.
That's right. All app-based,
Yeah, app-based with ways of buying those with credits, right? As far as I understand, and that's going to be really interesting to see whether that model translates as well as the content itself. That's all super interesting.
Yeah.
The other thing, and it's interesting to me because as I mentioned, we're investing by Hat-Trick. We work an awful lot with Hat-Trick, and obviously Hat-Trick make a ton of incredible sitcoms. And one of the things I've been thinking about recently is, we've heard loads about micro dramas, but where are the micro sitcoms? Thinking about those big departments in TV world, drama and comedy and scripted comedy. Like, surely that's an opportunity as well. We've seen loads, like we are not short in the UK of some brilliant sketch comics on short form platforms, you know, just doing incredible work in 60 seconds of sketches. Yeah. Increasingly, you're seeing those sketches coming from the same precincts and the same location with the same characters. You know, they're edging towards sitcoms already, and that's a really exciting kind of development and future. And hopefully, more stuff like that, Fox still will push it even further.
Yeah, well, that certainly feels like a direction of travel, and we can be, you know, seeing perhaps some more recognisable faces in microdrama, and then again, microdrama moving into the factual space, moving into scripted comedy. You know, the whole vertical video storytelling seems to be, you know, having a bit of a moment. So
it's going to be fascinating to see whether, you know, because part of the success of one of those projects will rely on whether that content lives on one account, or it lives on a broadcaster account, or it lives on a myriad account. That's going to be really exciting to see how people distribute it, and if they have the confidence to say, this is this show's account, and this is the only place you can get this show, or it gets lost in the mix of loads of other things, or it doesn't get lost in the mix of other things. That's going to be a really interesting development.
Yeah. So now it's time for Hero of the Week, Tom. What is the one person that you think deserves a shout out? Doesn't need to be in the digital first space. Could be any walk of life. Who you think, you know, deserves a little bit of recognition.
Right. I'm going to be really careful about how I articulate this. A couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, Channel 4 commissioned a comedy musical called Prince Andrew the Musical.
Yes.
Do you remember it?
I do.
From Hat-Trick.
Yeah.
Really funny, Munya Chara, like really, really, really good. I don't know if you saw this story, but whoever was running the homepage for Channel 4 streaming the other day, running the VOD platform, changed the name of that musical in line with
to Andrew Windsor the Musical.
It's just called Andrew the Musical now, which is amazing, with a line through the Prince, which, you know, taking aside the story itself, I just thought it was really one of those really good examples of how someone like Channel 4 can still be cheeky and very Channel 4, even in the way they present something on their homepage. It's like an incredible thing. It reminded me of when I worked there, one of the homepage editors, remember the David Cameron pig head story? Yeah. That's the day that story broke, they put the episode of Black Mirror about the Prime Minister and the pig on the homepage. And it's like that idea that Channel 4 can remain cheeky and Channel 4 and on topic and, you know, alive to what's happening around it, even in the way they promote their shows on the VOD platform, I thought was really cool. So whoever did that as the homepage editor, they're the hero of the week, I think.
All right. Okay. Well, whoever it is at Channel 4 who's responsible for that, you'll have to drop us an email or let us know on socials who it is, and we'll give you a proper shout out. And who or what are you telling to get in the bin?
I mean, that's tough, isn't it? What do people normally say? People are like normally very diplomatic about this kind of thing. I was going to say something about like BA and Louis Theroux's podcast and the story around there. I was also this morning when I was on the train looking at, I was going to say the general public for voting Ellie out of Strictly. We were a Strictly household, and my daughters loved Ellie, and that was terrible news this morning. They don't know yet. They've not watched the episode. So
we've never had the great British public putting them in the bin. But
they're rubbish. The whole is rubbish. But also, I think my actual villain of the week, the person that I'll put in the bin, was the person that nicked all the sweets off my doorstep on Friday night that I left out for Halloween. They took them a lot. Really? And also, I've got it on a Ring camera, so maybe we'll put that on YouTube and see what happens. So,
hang on, Tom. That's a very strange strategy. You leave a tub of sweets out, and you don't open the door every time. It's a bit lazy, I have to say.
I was trying to be efficient, Justin. But actually, maybe in a way, my attempt at efficiency has backfired, and they deserve all those sweets.
Yes, yeah. Well, yes. Well, exactly. Let's name and shame and put them on YouTube. Yeah, exactly. Tom, thank you for joining me. It's been brilliant, as always, to chat with you. We could go on for ages, right? Yeah. You know, and I'm sure let's do it again in another year, because I think 2026 feels like this year. It feels like the scales have tipped slightly between traditional and digital first. And, you know, it's really exciting what 2026 is going to bring. So maybe we'll do this again, sort of around Halloween again, and see what's changed.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I'll see you next year, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers. Well, good luck. Well, I'll see you on Thursday, first of all. So, well, that's about it for this week's TellyCast. Thanks very much to Thom Gulseven from Strongwatch Studios. We'll be back again next week with another show.